Welcome, everybody, to How Streaming Can Increase Your Easter Impact and Beyond. And this is a webinar. It's going to take about 30 minutes or so, approximately. It's brought to you by streamingchurch.tv. That's who we are. And again, I want to encourage you, if you want to chat with us, we will answer some questions. We'll take a Q&A at the end of the webinar here. We might make an exception or two if there's something that you have a question about and it relates to what we're talking about at the very moment. We might do that. Otherwise, we will go ahead and take your questions at the end. And again, there's some icons here at the top of your screen that you can use to adjust volume levels and chat with us. So we are going to just move on here. How streaming can increase your Easter impact and beyond. And so what I'd like to do here is give you a little bit of an idea who your presenters are today. And our founder and CEO, Steve Lacy, is not here today. Steve is under the weather. But let me introduce him to you anyhow, because Steve has been a good friend of mine for many years now. We've known each other for probably over 20 years, served together in local churches, and Steve has a background in the aerospace industry. He has been doing tech stuff for many, many years. In fact, I always tease him that his claim to fame is he was on the internet long before there was an internet. And that's not exactly true, but it's certainly long before there were browsers out there. And so Steve knows what he's doing behind the scenes here. He's very tech savvy, and he has basically built this company from the ground up. It's very organic in the sense that we started with a vision to help churches use technology, and it started back in 2001. And we'll tell you a little more about the company here later, because we really want to talk about streaming video for Easter and all that stuff. But Steve's a good guy, and he really has a vision and a heart to serve the local church. Has 4 adult kids now, and just a great family, great wife, and good stuff. So the next guy, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Dylan Burrows. And Dylan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, Phil. Thanks for the introduction. My name's Dylan Burrows. I've served with churches for more than 20 years, working in Christian media and technology. I have a background in communications and also a theology degree. Went to Dallas Theological Seminary. And I've worked with many organizations over the years, including the John Ankerberg Show, which is a Christian television show in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where I live. So bring a lot of experiences and ideas that we believe will help you in more effectively communicating your message to your church, especially in this Easter season, and look forward to joining you and talking with you today.
Yeah, that's awesome. You do have a lot of experience, and we're glad to have you aboard our team here. And I'm Phil Thompson, and I've been working with Steve for many, many years here, and I've done a lot of things with this company, and my official title is Streaming Launch Specialist. And so if you end up doing streaming video with us, I will certainly help you hands-on get up and going, and I do some tech support as well. And it's just a pleasure. I've been involved. I've actually been involved in ministry since the late 70s, kind of old. I have been involved in Christian broadcasting, helped start a couple of Christian broadcasting stations here in Tucson, Arizona. I've been a senior pastor. I've been an executive pastor. I still work a little part-time gig as an executive pastor of a church of about 100 people. I love church. I love doing ministry, and I love helping churches use technology. And so that's us. So on to what we're talking about today. Easter is the time to connect with the unchurched. And when I use the word unchurched, and that's basically what I mean by that is people who don't go to church or don't go to church on a regular basis. There's different terms for that. Some people call them the lost. Some people call them different things. I just use the term unchurched. But it's a great time of the year. In fact, Brittany and I were doing a Church Solutions podcast recently, and we talked about the word creasters. Dylan, are you familiar with the word creasters?
Yes, the Christmas and Easter only people. That's a fun one. And you think about how attendance spikes during those holidays. And one newspaper I recently read on the topic said that Easter is considered the Super Bowl of the church. So just think about it that way. It's the Super Bowl Sunday at your church. You want to have it be the best case scenario.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. It's a good opportunity to take advantage of this holiday. 47% of those polled confirmed they were more open to faith during the holiday season. Now, that's compared to 38% after a national crisis. And what that means would be something like, we had a national crisis 9/11, which obviously shook some people up. But if you keep going down the stats here, it kind of goes down. 34% are more open to spiritual things and things that are faith-natured after a national disaster. So, flood, earthquake, tornado. And here's one that kind of surprised me. Only 28% were open to faith or spiritual things after the birth of a child. I don't know about you, Dylan, but all of us here have kids, and I think it's just amazing. The birth of a child, to me, that's miraculous, and that helped me actually grow more in my faith than anything else.
Well, it does. I don't know how many people have a child and they realize, oh, I want to make sure my kid grows up in church and has that experience. So suddenly they may not have gone to church for several years, but that child makes them want to think differently and to live differently as a result.
Yeah.
So it's always a good opportunity for outreach when someone has a new child.
Absolutely. But getting back to our poll, 47% confirmed they were more open to faith during the holidays. And I don't know about you, but as I've raised my son, I feel like I need God more than ever. But anyhow, we won't get into my family issues. So there's no better time than the Easter season to reach people. That's what we're trying to say here. There's no better time. 37%, I was a little surprised about this, 37% of the U.S. population attend church once a week. I didn't think it was that high, but according to the Gallup poll, which was recent, 2018, there's still a large chunk of people that attend church once a week, but 51% of the U.S. population have a desire to attend church on the Easter weekend. So again, a great opportunity to reach people. How many times do people check their phones? Now, this is going to be a pop quiz, and you might say, well, what's this have to do with Easter? So, but I'm going to give you a little pop quiz here. How many times do you think people check their phones a day? And we'll tell you why. We're going to throw this little pop quiz at you. Is it 12 times a day? Is it 24 times a day? Do people check their phones 80 times per day? How about 300 times a day? Dylan, you may know the answer to this. Any guesses?
Hey, if I was guessing, I'm somewhere between C and D, but I'm probably not as active as some younger people, especially. So I will go with D, the biggest number possible. Go for it. 300. Okay. Is that right?
Well, and we got some chat here. So if you want to pipe in here, folks, with chat. I think somebody said letter C. Anybody else to pipe in here a little bit? Dylan put D in here. Let's just move on here and let's see what the answer is. So, how many times do people check their phones per day? It's not A. It's not 12 times a day. Sorry. How about B? Is it 24 times a day? No. So that means it's between 80 times per day or 300 times a day. Letter D, which would it be? It's 80 times per day. That's according to New York Magazine survey. 80 times a day people check their phones. Now, I do want to say this. In looking at these stats, it does vary a little bit. And there was actually a number out there of 300 times a day. Somebody had done a survey of how many times people check their phones on vacation. And one survey did say 300 times a day on vacation.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's because people have, a little more free time on their vacation, maybe. I don't know. But 80 times a day, Americans check their phones an average of 80 times per day. And look, this number is going to vary a little bit, but it's a lot. Okay. Let's just say it's a lot. And it's something that we need to keep in mind. And the reason we bring this up, is that when you do streaming video, it shows that you understand people's lifestyles. Look, Jesus and the disciples, the apostles, they understood the lives and the lifestyles of the people they were ministering to. and they went to places where the people gathered. And you even see that in the Old Testament. Different prophets went to where people went to. And so we already said Americans check their phones 80 times a day. 81% of internet and mobile audiences watched more live video in 2016 than 2015. Now, I don't have any other stats here, but it's going up every year. More and more people are going online and they're watching live video. It's going up. And that's where people are today. And you and I, if you're involved in church, we need to be where the people are at. 80% said they would rather watch a live video than read a blog. 82% prefer live video to social post. And I see that with my son, who's 20 years old. And I don't know about your kids, Dylan, your kids are a little younger, I think. But again, it's a huge jump there when it comes to digital stuff. And if you are where people are at, it shows you understand their lifestyle.
Yeah, and real quick on that, it's interesting. I have 2 teenagers now, and if you ask your everyday teenager what their favorite show is, often they're going to say something on YouTube. They have their favorite YouTubers. They don't have their favorite channels or shows on networks now. So more than ever, you need to be where the audience is. The audience is increasingly on video on the internet and live video.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, again, why we threw this stat out here with you when it comes to streaming video. All right, so streaming creates windows into your church. Let me throw this one at you, Dylan. What do you think I mean when I said streaming creates windows into your church?
Oh.
Any guesses there?
Yeah, I'd like to see some chat from the audience. But yeah, that idea, it's an opening. We're not talking about Microsoft Windows. We're talking about an opening into your church. So that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. So what that means is, people are looking today. There are people in your community, new people and other people who have been around for a while. They're looking for spiritual things. They're looking, and they're going to go online to find your church. And if you have streaming video, it creates opportunities for people to get an inside view of your church without having to go to your church. And so, you've got people using mobile devices. People can see your service, how you do your service. And look, every church is different, right? We have a different culture and different worship styles, and that's okay. There's not one church that fits everybody. And so when people get an opportunity to look at your video, they can see what your music's like. They can see what your pastor's like. They can see what the church is like, and they can do it from the comfort of your home. And it creates windows for them to look in and decide, hey, maybe this is something that I'd like to be a part of. Streaming extends the reach and the growth of your church. So again, we're talking about not only reaching people for the Easter season here, but also beyond Easter. And so 59% of churches have seen physical growth since launching an online ministry. Now we're talking growth in their building, people coming to their building. And this kind of goes against what I think the early objections was. And when we started to do streaming video about 10 years ago, we had some people going, well, if we stream our services, people are going to stay home in their pajamas and not show up. And look, I think that can happen, right? But I think for the most part, if they like what they see, and if they're close by, they're going to visit your church and hopefully connect, because people are looking to connect long run. 75% of digital church leaders reported that people attended online services the first time. Then they showed up in person. So in other words, they watched the first time, they watched online, and then they eventually showed up. And by the way, Dylan, feel free to jump in here a little bit, but I can attest to this figure because Steve and I saw this when we first started doing streaming video at the church we were at. We had lots of visitors, and when we would ask them, hey, how'd you hear about us? What got you here? Oh, I've been watching you guys online for a while now and really like what you're doing, and I decided to come.
Yeah, I think people don't realize the power of having that video, and especially live video there. It used to be that everybody would go online to find if you had a website and evaluate you that way. Now, almost every church has a website in your town, but not every church has video that could be watched and give you an idea of the pastor's sermon, the style of music, what the people are like. So it gives you an edge and an insight that people can observe long before they show up, because, just like movie previews, people watch the previews, and if they like it, they'll go to the movie. You don't want to make your church a movie necessarily, but the same idea applies. People check you out before they go and then decide whether they're going to go based on what they see on a screen.
Yeah. And people like live streaming, but again, we haven't really said much about it, but if you can archive your video, we give people the opportunity with our company to archive their video, and you can have it online as well. So again, it does, as you said, Dylan, it creates an opportunity. And 42% found to be living within driving distance of the church. So again, like I said, people are looking and they're close by. And we're a lot of times people think of global streaming. Global. We're going to reach people all over the world, and you will, and you can. But also, you can target people in your area through different things like Facebook ads and Google AdWords and things like that. And people are going to be looking, and they want answers, and they're going to look to your church. And if you can help them connect with God, the streaming video can certainly make that happen. Streaming helps people grow spiritually. Now, there might be some people listening to this webinar, watching this webinar, who might say, I don't know about that. Well, first of all, I can just tell you from personal experience. I was a church online pastor for a while, and praying with people online, it's the real deal. You can certainly do that. Our company has a platform that enables people to do private chat, so they can have private prayer. If they so desire, they can give you contact information, follow-up. We have a follow-up tool that's very unique with our company that allows you to be able to follow up with people if they want to give you that information. And you can follow up with them. You can pray with them online. You can also provide pastoral care. Hey, it happens, and it's very valid. And also, there are online groups that you can create. When people start watching your video, if you give them opportunity, you can create some online groups for different areas, different things that people like to do and be involved with. And then one of the things that I enjoyed doing for many years was online home small groups. And we literally would have, we would use Skype. We use so many different tools out there. I think Zoom, I think we may have used Zoom, that was years ago, but there's different tools out there where you could actually have some very, very interactive online small groups. And you have people online, and we had people all over the country as well as our area, and we saw ministry happen. Ministry took place. And in fact, I remember Steve Lacey, our founder and CEO, who is out sick today, but he would do a regular small group in his home during the week. And there was a gal who had a disease that was, her immune system was very low. And so she couldn't come to the group because she was, her immune system was low, and it would put her in danger of catching something. And so they literally streamed their small group, and she got to watch online and participate online through chat. Pretty cool stuff, huh?
Yeah, it's a great example. And I also see increasingly connections between a home church and its missionaries in different parts of the world. I have one church here locally. I am friends with the pastor, and on a regular basis on Sunday nights, they will video conference in one of their missionaries from another location who will give them updates on what's going on in ministry live on the screen, instead of coming once a year or sending you a letter, and interact with people, answer questions, pray together, worship together, and encourage each other. And it's a powerful emotional connection that is an encouragement to the missionaries as well as to those who support them.
Yeah. And I remember that there was a group, I believe in Africa somewhere, that was watching our church services online, and they literally gathered a group of people, and when we did church, they were basically part of our church, even though they were thousands of miles away. And the other thing which we haven't mentioned here is that you can actually stream, if you've got multiple campuses. Streaming video can really make a difference with multiple campuses, which we won't get into a lot of that, but that's an opportunity that people can have. And then let me just give you real quick here a little example of here's something we have, our company has, and it's a streaming platform. It's a video chat platform. And we have lots of different versions of this. So this is just one version of it. But you see the video on the left side, and then you see the chat on the right side. And then if you go further right, there's a little chat icon. There's an icon where you can see who's online. You can see where they're located, approximately where they're located. There's a little Bible app that you can see as well. And so we have a lot of tools, and you can share the video on Facebook. You can share it on Google. You can share it on, email, all that stuff. And that's how it gets interactive. And not every company has this. A lot of them are starting to get this now. But this gives people an opportunity where they're not just watching video, but they're actually able to participate and be involved. Streaming presents an opportunity for people to give online. I bring this up because when people give online, it creates a connection between them and your church and your ministry. And that's an important part of not just growing spiritually, but investing in the church. When people have opportunities to give, they feel invested in your ministry. And giving is a spiritual thing, and it helps us connect with each other, and certainly supports the church as well. So when people have that opportunity, when you stream and you have that, and again, I just showed you a platform, you can create a giving button, a donation button on there. And I have seen this over and over again. Some churches have seen a tremendous increase in their offerings. My one church, over 20%, the church I'm associated with. There's a story a few years ago. I was working with Steve at a different church, and I was the church online pastor, which meant I oversaw the online video and the streaming. And we had an offering that was a very large offering. It was a six-figure offering. Now, that's an exception, right? I mean, you're probably not always going to get that. But the bottom line is it gives you an opportunity to connect with people, and people really do want to support you. If they like what's going on, if they feel a connection, if God speaks to them, they have an opportunity to give, and streaming video provides that. And again, I don't want to cut you off here, Dylan, so if you want to jump in here, feel free to be involved.
No, this is good. This idea of amplifying your events. I think people underestimate the power it could have both locally and at the national, international level. To give one example, more and more churches are finding that instead of building another building when they run out of space, they start looking at options like other services or other locations. But you can also just run a live stream to another room in your own church at the same time. So we have a church service where 10:45 is too crowded. Well, we have another room that holds 300 people on the other side. You live stream the same service, have it there. You have 300 more seats instantly. So it's a great way to amplify what's happening in the room to other places on your campus, even in addition to other places.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, it's so easy now. You can get members of your congregation to share a link to an event. I mean, not just your regular Sunday service, although they could do that. But if you're having a special event, not to put me back in the dark ages here, but I remember the time where we used to walk the neighborhoods and knock on doors and invite people to come to church. That's hard to do these days. I mean, I remember years ago, and I'm dating myself, Dylan, but people sometimes they'd let you in your house, let them in. They would let you into their house, and you could talk to them a little bit. Now, most of the time, nobody answers the door, but it's easy to get your members to share a link to something that's going on, either your Sunday morning service, Sunday evening service, or a special event, guest speakers, concerts. And again, that's a bridge that helps amplify what you're doing and creates opportunities for people to be involved. All right, so I'm in Tucson, Arizona, and the weather is usually either hot or hotter. But in different parts of the country, like where you're at, Dylan, you're in Chattanooga, Tennessee right now. You guys do experience some weather-related things, don't you?
Occasionally. You might have a half inch of snow, but it shuts down the entire town because in the South we're not used to this kind of weather. So we actually did have a Sunday about a year ago in our church where the weather shut down all the churches on Sunday. but our pastor did a live stream right from his church office, and we had church right there. And not everybody attended, but several hundred did.
Mm-hmm.
And just having that option made a huge difference in the momentum of the church. People could still give, people could still participate. And it was a much different dynamic than simply saying, oh, we're canceled today, we'll try it next week. It was, we're not meeting at the building, but catch me online, and we'll have our service there. So it offers something you couldn't do in the past. It really makes an impact to your members at your church.
Yeah. I pastored in Kansas for about 8 years, and there was a couple times we had some really bad blizzards, and I wish we had streaming video back then. That was the early 2000s. We didn't have it, and I think I had to cancel a service or two. And so, you know, I mean, there's exceptions to this. Sometimes the power goes out and you're not going to be able to stream. But again, as you just mentioned, Dylan, it creates an opportunity for people to watch online and keeps them out of harm's way if the weather is really rough. And we've had, you know, our company, streamingchurch.tv, we've seen that happen. We've seen people, they've used our service to just invite people to watch online. Streaming saves you money. So, Dylan, you kind of mentioned this a little earlier when it came to your facility. If you run out of room, there's can be overflow you can use, but you can save money in a lot of different ways. It's more economical than TV, than radio, and even print. And I'm not saying you shouldn't use those things. They are certainly things you could certainly use to promote what you're doing for Easter and beyond. But it's very economical today to do streaming video. And when you are able to save money, that means you have more money, more resources for ministry.
Well, yeah, and I'll also say it gives you a more accurate return on investment, because in the past, if you broadcast on TV or radio in your community or even put an ad in the newspaper, you had no idea who was responding to that, how many people watched or listened at a given time. But on streaming, we have very detailed statistics where you can see how many people were logged in each Sunday, if it's going up, if it's going down, at what point in time it went up. So you can see if you did an email blast and that suddenly made a difference in people clicking on. So there are ways to track what you're doing and make sure you're being effective with the money that God has given you.
Yeah, absolutely. Streaming is easier than ever. So this is not a how to do streaming video today, but we will mention this very quickly, that you need a camera, and there are so many different cameras out there today. Most of them will work to do streaming video, all the way from some very simple consumer grade camcorders. I've even had some people do special events from their office with just a webcam. Wouldn't recommend that, but you can do that. So there's lots of different cameras out there. Depending on your budget, you can find one to do streaming video. A computer is really all you need today. There is a little caveat here. Besides the computer, you do have to have a device that will kind of bridge between the camera and your computer. It's called a video capture device. There's different ones out there. We can give you more information on that later. There's free software available to stream, so you do need a live encoder, but there's free software as well as paid software to be able to do streaming video. It's much, much easier and less expensive now than ever. There are also some hardware live encoders, so if you don't want to use a computer, there are some little boxes out there. We like the Webcaster X2. There are other devices out there, Sling Studio, that will help you do streaming video if you don't want to use a computer. But there's lots of opportunities now to be able to do that. It's easier than ever, and of course, here at streamingchurch.tv, we specialize in helping you find the right stuff to do your streaming with. We have a great solution. We have a great library of resources available here as a company. We do the Church Solutions podcast. We do that every week. Dylan's been on it. Brittany's been on it. Steve and I usually host it. We have other guests that come on it who specialize in different things when it comes to technology, and even resources to help your volunteers grow and help you raise support for what you're doing. We're available on iTunes and other places. Anywhere you get your most favorite podcast, we are on there. Just look for the Church Solutions podcast. And we're going to take some questions here in just a second, but we do want to remind you we got a special offer for Easter, and that is you can have lunch on us. You can get a $25 Starbucks gift card if you like Starbucks, which I do. You could certainly get that if you decide to make a free trial today. And I think you really probably need to stream at least once. So if you can do those things, we think that you'll like streaming video. We think that you'll like what we do at streamingchurch.tv, and we'll give you a gift card. And if you don't like Starbucks, we'll find something else that you like. What's one of your favorite places to go, Dylan? What do you like?
Oh, my goodness. Well, we live in the land of Chick-fil-A, God's holy bird. So we are very faithful to that location, but there are plenty of others. If you live in Tennessee, Cracker Barrel is always a top choice. If there are any Cracker Barrel people out there, we have Steve from Arkansas. We want to make sure to give a little shout out to him and some of his favorite places. But of course, we have plenty of options. So if that's not your place or you don't have one locally, we'll find something that works for you.
And we can get you a Chick-fil-A thing as well. So that's a special offer. All right. So time for some questions real quick. I saw something come across asking about unlimited streaming. I was looking at some other things. I don't know if you saw that, Dylan, but we do have unlimited streaming. We have a basic plan that is, you can go to streamingchurch.tv and look at the plans. We have two plans. One is basic unlimited. The other one is premium unlimited. And there are differences in the plans. The premium, basically, I'm confusing people by saying basically. Basic plan, we don't really host your archives. Premium, we do host your archives. And there's other things that we have. And honestly, I would encourage you afterwards to go to streamingchurch.tv, click on the free trial, and it will give you kind of a side-by-side comparison of the two plans that we have. So what other questions are out there that you might have today? Just you can put them in chat. Somebody asked me a question: how long does it take to get set up to stream? Well, honestly, it doesn't take long. It can be just a matter of minutes if you have the equipment. And we certainly, one of the things that we do, we're real big on customer service. We have a vision to help churches, and so we really put a lot of investment in helping people. There's lots of ways we do that, but honestly, the thing that we showed you earlier, a camera, a computer, you can download some live encoding software. The only thing that might, if you don't have a video capture device, it might take you about 3 days to get it. You can get it on Amazon or B&H Photo, but the answer to how long it takes, not long. I mean, you can literally do it if you have the right stuff in a matter of an hour or less, or it might take you 2 or 3 days to do that. So doesn't take very long. Are you fielding any questions here, Dylan? Because I'm juggling.
Yeah, I'm starting to get some. Somebody asked about using the OBS encoder because that's a free one that you can use, and it's a great option. The major limitation there is you can do one main stream the way I understand it. I've tried it out. You have one free stream, but if you say you wanted to stream to multiple places, you want to use a program like Wirecast, which is kind of the main standard out there. So you want to go to YouTube and to Facebook as well as your website and maybe a couple of other spots. You want to make sure you're using a paid service that allows you to use multiple ones versus a free option like OBS that only allows you one feed. So you really get what you pay for there. We have some details we can help you with and some options that we can provide as well as an add-on if you're interested in that. But yeah, that's a good question. Thanks for checking with us on that.
Yeah, vMix is another option there. You mentioned Wirecast. vMix is another option that we like a lot. vMix only works on PCs. Wirecast will work on Apple products as well. vMix will do that. And the question I got too, which kind of goes along with what you mentioned there, somebody just asked, why not just stream to YouTube or Facebook? Why not just to use those places? And my answer to that, and you can chime in here as well, Dylan, but my answer to that is, yeah, you could certainly stream to YouTube and you can certainly stream to Facebook. There are some things that can be problematic at times. You can run into some copyright issues with YouTube or Facebook, and you'd be surprised. I had a friend one time that wrote a song and did it and did it, streamed it to YouTube, and they shut him down. And he wrote the song, and they said, well, you're in violation of copyright. And so it can be problematic at times. We actually do offer a service at streamingchurch.tv with our premium package where you can stream to your website using us, and you can also stream to YouTube and Facebook at the same time using us. We have a social streaming platform. It's a little extra money, but it might be worth it. So that's an option. So I'm not saying don't stream to those places, but I'm just saying when you stream to your website, I think it helps your SEO because people go to your website. And that helps you in the mystery of Google, how Google's works out there where nobody really knows for sure. But if people are going to your website, that's going to help your ranking.
Yeah, and I think also a main difference is it's the difference between live streaming a video and having an online service. You know, when you say, oh, yeah, I could just put that on YouTube for free, or I could do Facebook Live for free. Well, you can, but you lose the platform that we offer where you can have that interactivity that you showed earlier in the presentation where people could share prayer requests. You have your sermon notes. You have opportunities to give. You have opportunities to discuss. That's not something you're going to get at YouTube or at Facebook or another social media platform. And like you said, it also gives people a reason to keep coming back to your website versus going to a social site that you don't have control over.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And somebody in the chat here says that we've used Streaming Church and have volunteers, and once set up, it all works seamlessly. And that was a question I also got earlier was, hey, can volunteers do this? Can they actually do streaming video? And the truth is, yes, they certainly can. It really takes minimum effort. Now, look, if you're really complicated, if things are very complicated at your church and you have 4 or 5 cameras and you've got some complicated switching, then you might have a volunteer that oversees that, and it might take a little training. But some of the stuff we shared earlier was the basic stuff of, camera, computer, video software. That stuff is basic, and that's really very simple. And as the chat said, look, once you set it up, and again, we help you with the setup, and it's not that hard. Once you set it up, it's pretty much open up and go. Open up and click stream for the most part, and it will work. So volunteers can do this. It is, I see it all the time in my church and other churches that use volunteers. They certainly can do it.
Yeah, and I would say nearly every church we work with, there are volunteers running it for the day-to-day or Sunday-to-Sunday operations. You don't have a pastor back there clicking the buttons. So the other thing I would mention is that unlike some companies where it's really hard to get the support you need, especially on a Sunday morning, Phil and the people with our company are there for you, and we want to make your church streaming correct. We want it to work well. We want it to reach as many people as possible. So if you're on your 3rd week and you're still having trouble with getting Facebook integration or some other issue that you're having, we are going to be there, and we're going to do something to help you with it instead of just sending some tickets that may or may not get any kind of response. So we're here for you, and that does make a big difference from experiences I've had with other companies, whether it be streaming or other services.
Yeah, that's one of the foundations of our company, Dylan. You haven't been with us very long, but that was always a big deal for us, is customer support, because we really have a vision to help churches. And it's more than just a business here. It's a ministry for us, and it's something that we really want to see churches do. So any questions before we go away here? Anything else before we move on here? I want to, and by the way, if you have other questions, folks, and some of you might be watching the recorded version of this, so just send us an email, support@streamingchurch.tv with your questions. We sure appreciate the privilege of your time. We're available 7 days a week, as Dylan just mentioned. We have a 30-day free trial with no obligation. You don't have to put a credit card in. You can try it. We'll help you. If you need more equipment or something, we'll give you more time. And again, want to push our little lunch thing here. Have lunch on us. Have coffee on us. And if you're nice to us and you like Chick-fil-A, we'll even send you a Chick-fil-A thing. How's that sound?
Oh, my goodness. This makes me want to be a pastor of about 4 churches over the next month and, set up a bunch of these so I could have some nice meals together. So don't get any ideas out there, but this is a great offer.
That's good. And we actually do have a referral program, so which we don't have time to get into. But if you're a pastor or a key volunteer and you know some other churches that might be interested, we have a referral program. So let us know about that. So I think that about wraps it up. Sure appreciate your time, folks. Thank you for the privilege of your time. Dylan's been with us today. Steve Lacey couldn't be with us, but he will be with us in the future. And we sure hope that this webinar, How to Make the Biggest Impact on Your Easter Service and Beyond, will help your church and help your church grow and help your church reach more people for God. And that's what we're all about. And if we can help you in any way, please contact us, support@streamingchurch.tv, or visit our website. You can chat with us most of the time at streamingchurch.tv. All right. Dylan, any closing words as we wrap up?
I would say I've put my email there in the chat as well. So if you want to reach out to me personally, feel free to do that, Dylan@streamingchurch.tv. And I'll be glad to connect with you more afterwards and look forward to talking with all of you more along the journey of live streaming at your church. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Dylan, and thank you again, folks. We appreciate you very much. Have yourself a great day, and thanks for being a part of our webinar. We'll keep you posted. We will have future webinars in the future, and we'll let you know about that as well. Thanks, and have yourself a great day.